I the a-hole for leaving my sister stranded at a restaurant after she brought my dad? I, 30 male, have a complicated history with my dad. I'll call him Jake, and haven't seen him in over 11 years. When I was 13, the biggest family secret came out that ended my parents' marriage and my relationship with him. All thanks to my mom who cheated, got pregnant, and passed me off as his. We all found out, and like a switch went off, Jake wanted nothing to do with me at all. They got divorced. My older sister was his, so he only fought for custody of her. He was horrible to me when this first came out. As if it was my fault. And for a long time, I did think that. In fact, it took years of therapy to stop feeling like it was all my fault. For a long time after it came out, I did everything to be in Jake's life like he was in my sister's. I never held back telling me looking at me makes him sick, and it was never my dad. Telling this to a 14-year-old. My last attempt was when I was around 18. By then, Jake had gotten remarried. His new wife was pregnant, and I convinced my sister to bring me to the baby shower hoping to talk to him. Big mistake. He flipped on me outside, and it was the most humiliating and hurtful moment of my life. Jake told me to go find my real dad and stop bothering him. That was it for me, and we didn't speak again. Now I get it. He was cheated on, he was hurt, and I'm a reminder of the biggest betrayal of his life. The affair kid. But I was also human with feelings. Took time, but I forgot about him with lots of therapy. Still close with my sister, but she keeps her relationship with him separate from ours. Except for now. He got sick from COVID last year, and I guess that was his come to Jesus moment. Now he's suddenly interested. But for me, the damage is done, and I've turned that chapter in my life. Have my wife and family. A father-in-law who's loved me and treated me like his own for years. So I've denied seeing him. But because now he wants to, my sister keeps trying to set it up. Earlier this week, she tried to surprise me with him at the restaurant where we were having lunch. I got up and left without saying anything to him. I was caught off guard, so the only thing going on in my mind is, I gotta get out. My sister came with me, so that means I was her ride and just left her there. And my sister's really mad about me leaving. His wife dropped him off, and it was gonna be a while for her to come back since she had appointments. But the point is, they ended up being there way longer than expected. On top of that, she got to work late since the plan was for me to drive her back after eating. Not sure if she's actually mad that I left her, or that I didn't stay to eat with Jake. But yeah, she does think I was an a-hole for taking off like that. Not totally sure if I was, since I've made it clear we are done, but at the same time I did leave her without a ride. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. What your sister did was wrong. She should not have sprung him on you after all the trauma he had caused. If she had told you he was coming and you had agreed, then you would have been the a-hole. But you didn't know he was going to be there. That wasn't the plan. And she did not ask if you were comfortable with it. She honestly should have expected you were going to be overwhelmed. I'm sorry you went through that, and I'm glad to hear you have a loving family. She knows I wouldn't have gone at all, so that's why she didn't tell me. It was painful as hell, believe me. I'm just grateful to have found a wonderful family with my wife. Not the a-hole. Your sister is the a-hole here. She's the one you had a present-day ongoing relationship with, and she betrayed your trust. Don't let her talk you into thinking you owed her a ride after the stunt she pulled. As they say, play stupid games, etc., etc. You didn't leave them stranded on the side of the road during a thunderstorm. You left them in a nice restaurant after you were ambushed. They had plenty of time to have a nice meal while waiting for an Uber or something. OP, you panicked and left. You had to have years of therapy to get to a more comfortable place, and good for you for doing the work and marrying well. Your dad may have had a come-to-Jesus moment, but you, OP, you don't have to care. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. Proverbial stupid game / prizes moment for your sister. You may want to rethink your relationship with your sister, since she appears to have picked up a lot more of her father's personality and attitudes than you may have previously known. Her reaction was to deflect and blame you for the situation, rather than apologize. A rather telling reflex. You didn't leave her stranded. She tried to manipulate you for her father's sake, not yours. She was late for work because she assumed that you would be easily manipulated into staying, that you were as desperate as you were when you were a teen to have a relationship. Also, her real motive was probably even more selfish. She wanted to be the hero and peacemaker between you and her father, so she could tell everyone how she finally mended the relationship and take social media credit for attention. You owe her father nothing, including an opportunity to apologize or explain. You don't owe him anything. Walking away was not an a-hole move. It was the most polite and reasonable thing you could have done. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to give my homeless sister a place to stay? My sister's husband left her for someone else. The house they lived in was inherited by him years before she met him, and there was never any mortgage on it. In our jurisdiction, this means it isn't part of the marital property or the divorce process, so she isn't entitled to the house or any of the equity in the divorce. Her husband was able to get a court order to evict her from the homes, and she was lawfully evicted. She will get half of their savings account, but that will all go to her legal fees apparently. She isn't eligible for alimony. He isn't rich, and it's not a factor. I haven't had contact with my sister since 2016. She was the one who cut off contact. She got contact because my husband is a police officer. She doesn't like the police. She's never contacted or spoken to my husband even once. She hated that I was dating a police officer, and when he proposed, she said if I married him, she would never speak to me again. There was no other reason for her not to like him besides his job, but she is the type that posts quotes and statements on social media, but she never does any activism beyond that. That was the last time I saw or heard from her, until she recently showed up at my house asking to stay because her husband left her and had her evicted. Our parents can't take her in because they just moved into a retirement condo community. Only residents can live there, and you have to be over 50. They aren't struggling, but they can't afford to help her after their own rent/fees/bills. When she cut me off, my parents said I should be able to marry whoever I want, but at the same time, I should be sensitive to why my sister is upset and see her point of view. I have no other relatives besides my parents and sister, and I don't really visit my parents, and I talk to them on the phone about once a month. I am in an industry where I can't work from home, and where things are still closed because of the pandemic. I have been laid off from my job until things reopen. The business is not gone and the industry will be back, but I've been unemployed since last March. I have done some freelancing, but my husband is the breadwinner right now. My sister, who hates my husband even though she's never had contact with him, came to my house after her eviction wanting to stay with us. She said my husband makes enough that we can't afford to have her stay rent-free and support her, and have her eat our food, use our internet, etc., and that we owe it to her. I can't believe her nerve, and I told her no. And said if she comes back, I'll call the police on her for trespassing. She called me an a-hole and a terrible sibling, and she wouldn't stop calling or texting me until I blocked her. She is staying at a shelter or outside if there are no beds available now. Am I really being too hard on her? Am I the a-hole and a bad sibling for refusing to take her in when she is homeless? Not the a-hole. Absolutely do not give in to this. Evictions take time as do divorce settlements. She knew this was happening and made no plans, got no job, and clearly made bad decisions. I don't believe for 1 second she agreed to a settlement that was only enough to pay legal fees. She spent all her money, or doesn't want to, wasted months she could have been getting employment at her own place, with the intention to leech off of someone she clearly doesn't even like. Ignore her. Just to provide clarity, they are not divorced yet. Legally separated and the divorce will be finalized soon, but it has not happened yet. Her insistence that you owe her despite her continued refusal to apologize makes you not the a-hole. She can deal with the consequences of her own actions in alienating you. Right there. Ignoring that her sister declined to speak to Opie over the spouse being a cop that she has never in her life met, she's still the a-hole. As soon as she said that she was owed anything, it's entirely appropriate to tell her to screw herself while she waits for a bed. I help people when I can because I feel like it's the right thing to do. But when someone feels entitled to my aid without treating me with even the most basic of common courtesies, I'm not interested. Not the a-hole. She cut off contact and killed the relationship, not you. She can't now expect you to live off the guy she cut you out over. That's not how life works. She now knows why you don't burn bridges you may have to cross later. You don't owe her anything, Opie. Not the a-hole. You owe her nothing. Also, based on her behavior, If you let her stay, you might not be able to kick her out without getting your own court order to evict her. Next story. Am I the a-hole for providing statement to police after brother stole from me? Backstory. My brother, 30 male, has been struggling with addiction since he was 15 years old. He still lives at home with my father. Him and I, 33 male, have always had a shaky relationship. My other two brothers and my mom want nothing to do with him. I placed an order paid in full on April 20 at Home Depot. On April 23, I was arrested. I was released on June 21. I went to Home Depot on June 22 for my order, and they informed me that my order was released to my younger brother on May 27. She even called my brother right in front of me, and I heard him confirm that he did pick it up. Luckily, I had recorded a majority of the convo he just had with a rep, so there was no denying it. He says he already sold the product. I told him I wanted my money. He agreed and said on Friday he would pay me. Friday comes and he says he's not going to give it to me anymore, that it's not his fault that Home Depot gave it to him. I told him that he had until Monday to give me the money, and he didn't say anything else. On Wednesday, I filed a chargeback with my bank, who said that they would not approve the chargeback unless a police report was filed, and I gave a statement. I told them I would think about it and get back to them. Later in the day, Home Depot calls me and says they want to avoid a chargeback, and they would refund me my money under the same circumstances the bank was asking. A few hours later, I got a call from a detective asking me for a statement, so I cooperated. The detective let me know that she first contacted my brother to give him the opportunity to just repay the money, but he refused to even give a statement. Now my dad is telling me that I am the a-hole for cooperating, that I know how it is to be in jail, and why would I want to send my little brother to such a place? I see it this way. I didn't ask him to steal my product. I just want my money back. And since he refused to give it to me, I simply did what I needed to do to protect my interests. Shortly after giving my statement, Home Depot notified me that my refund had been issued. Now for the comments. Not the a-hole for reporting to police, as it seems the only way to get your much-needed cash expediently, but I can't help but think there are about 1,000 things being left unsaid here. Yes, you're correct. There's a ton more to the story. I try to hit all of the most relevant stuff though. He's been to rehab 4 to 5 times, but has always checked himself out after a few weeks. He's never been forced to make a lifestyle change because my dad is the biggest enabler on earth and provides my brother with a home, food, and most importantly, a safe and comfortable place to get and be high. All for free, of course. Info. Why did Home Depot give your stuff to your brother? I feel like most places would have put your stuff back on the shelves and refunded you after 2 weeks. Also, they are only supposed to release the items to you or someone who you specifically designate as an alternate. Well, both my brother and I are sellers on Amazon. I can only speak for myself. I spend $20,000+ a month on various products from Home Depot that I resell, and I think my brother does somewhere around the same. We do not work together, nor do we sell any of the same products. However, anytime either one of us places a new order, 95% of the time the order is placed through the same Pro Extra Desk representative. I've been working with her for about 8 years now, and my brother maybe 4 years, and have built a great rapport with her. My brother took advantage of their relationship and her trust. He told her I had been arrested and said that I had called him asking him to help me out and pick up my product and fulfill my orders, which could not be further from the truth. It kind of was Home Depot's mistake, but I understand why they released the order to him. Not the a-hole. He committed a crime and should be punished for it. He's probably stolen hundreds of times before and thought that because you are family, you'd let him get away with it. Good on you for following through. Yes, thank you. He's literally stolen from me at least 10 times in the past 5 years. It even broke into my place last year. Took several and broke several other things. All because he gets high and paranoid. I've never done anything about it before because it's always been stuff worth no more than a couple $100. I'm sure he thought he could get away with it this time too. But I'm not willing to let several $1,000s go. I mean, he could have just asked for it, and I would have very willingly give it to him. Last story is titled, Am I the a-hole for not wanting to take care of my boyfriend's brother? My boyfriend and I have been together for just over a year. 4 months into our relationship, he brought me to meet his mom and brother who is autistic. He told me in advance about his brother, but I assumed he would be like my ex, who was a little social awkward but lived a normal life. I was shocked when I met him, as it seemed he was at a 10-year-old's mental development. He had a meltdown during dinner, and I could see how stressed his mom was at having to deal with us. We talked after we drove back, and he told me his mom was planning on sending him to a group home, as she is getting older and would soon be no longer able to take care of him. I thought nothing more about this. But last week, his mom had a health scare, and she asked him to take his brother. Both his parents are in poor health at this point, so likely this will be semi-permanent. He told me the plan had changed, and he would have to take his brother in. I'm not sure why, because everyone is getting shots and the numbers are down, but he explained there's currently an insane 2-year waiting list for an entry to a group home. He wants me to take care of his brother as he works 12 hours a day out of the house. I work from home permanently, but I know my work would be disrupted if his brother had a meltdown. So I moved back to my old place with my roommates, as I had just moved out for 3 months and they hadn't found a new roommate yet. My boyfriend is mad because now he has no way of working and taking care of his brother, and thinks I'm being sympathetic to his problems. But I don't want to take care of him, especially when it would affect my work. Am I the a-hole for not wanting to care for my boyfriend's brother? Not the a-hole. I'm sympathetic to the fact that your boyfriend needs to figure out how to take care of his brother in short notice. But deciding, without any discussion, that you are going to watch him 12 hours a day is ridiculous. If it was an hour here and there, I would go you're the a-hole because sometimes you just have to bite a bullet. But 60 to 80 hours a week? No, not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. If he wants to take in his brother, I admire him for it. However, it sounds like he was about to lay 100% of the responsibility on you. It is not your responsibility. You cannot work from home and take care of his brother too. It's not realistic, and most jobs wouldn't allow it. A lot of work-from-home jobs won't allow you to even have kids at home, and require proof of outside daycare to ensure there are no interruptions on the time they are paying you for. Your boyfriend needs to figure out how to take care of his brother on his own. Not the a-hole. It's annoying me that so many comments are she's not trying to do the job, when the absolute only correct response is, it's totally inappropriate and unacceptable for a man to expect his girlfriend to take over the care of a relative. We don't have to say because of her job or because she's not trained, but because the mere fact of it is insane. Edit. For the confused, he didn't ask. He told OP that he expected her to care for the brother. That's the deal breaker.